Hi Facebook, I'm Ellie Frost and I'm a coach and strategist for personal brands and leaders, and I wanted to come on and talk about this idea of you get what you need and not what you want, because it's come up loads of times today in my coaching groups. So I'm just going to share to my groups before we start. So okay, so what's it about? So often when I work with clients, or even in my own life, right, we interpret situations and circumstances as negative, right? And we don't open up to the idea that they could be completely perfect and on path. And it's not about positive thinking or just reframing something. It is about this concept of you get what you need, not what you want, right? So what I mean is, like, sometimes it will take like a really difficult oh no, I have a dog walk. Sometimes it would take like a really difficult work situation, for example, or a difficult relationship, or some real big challenge for us to go deeper and like ask some really big questions. I'm going to take my puppy out in life. So often what we interpret as those negative situations are often exactly what we need to put us on path. And I believe it's a friendly universe and everything is always working out for us. And especially when we've like sent a desire for a better life, more fulfillment, a higher vision, right? We get what we need to get on that path. And sometimes if we're not used to listening to our intuition and those subtle kind of nudges we get, if we're not used to trusting our instincts, it could take like what seems like a negative event or a bigger event to trigger us and fuel us into making changes. But I think that it's really important to know that often those circumstances and those changes are completely on path and serving us, and to understand them that way, because I see so many people beating themselves up because they feel like they got in a negative situation, or they feel like unworthy, or they feel somehow they did something wrong, right, because a certain event happened. But those events that we view as negative are not always negative, because often they're putting us on track, they're putting us on path, they're fueling us, they're giving us what we need, right? I needed to get that frustrated, I needed to get that angry to wake up, I needed to be in that kind of relationship to draw that line and raise my standard. I needed to get to that point in that job to make me and motivate me to start my own business and really trust what I felt inside. So I'm just like kind of like suggesting that we don't always see those circumstances or automatically perceive them as negative, but actually we could assume that we're on path, we could assume that we're always being supported, and that everything we get is what we need to head towards more fulfillment, more joy, a better life. And if we would just trust that and be easy with those circumstances and trust ourselves within them, then we get to have a smoother ride. Because for most of us, for many of us, especially entrepreneurs, it often does take like a moment of real tension to push us into doing our own thing. And that's not necessary. There are easier ways to grow and expand. It's just that for a lot of us, it takes that kind of being really uncomfortable in order to kind of push us over the edge and make us kind of say, right, no more, I'm going to go for something else. And we can learn how to expand in easier ways, and how to listen to our intuition more and trust what we feel inside more, so we don't need to attract those kind of catastrophes, I suppose, in our lives in order to make positive change. But if we do need them, then I think it's really worth knowing that we don't have to buy into the fear, and we don't have to buy into the lies of like how negative something is. What we really should seek to do is see how it's serving us. How could this be serving me? What did I miss? What was I not tuning into? What was I not aligned with that I needed to attract this situation right now that I might be uncomfortable in, right? But that I needed this amount of discomfort or pain or whatever it is to to kind of wake up to something that I wasn't hearing within myself. And the better we get at listening to ourselves and trusting ourselves and knowing, being quicker to kind of respond to our instincts, the less we have to go through those great big kind of traumatic or disruptive events in order to be on path, right? But if we get them, it's about seeing the gift. It's not about positively just reframing it and trying to feel better about it. It's about knowing that it's a friendly universe and this event must be serving me in some way, even if I can't see it now. What did I miss? What was I not paying attention to? What was I not tuning into? You see, in order to be at peak performance, we have to trust our instincts. Peak performance athletes and CEOs are very instinctive in how they act. They trust their instincts and they have to go on instincts a lot of times, right? So the more we can tune in and get comfortable with trusting our instincts and being open to our intuition, the better, and the less we need to kind of be kind of forced to see things through kind of those kind of events. So it's really important to learn how to really like just take that time and really tune into ourselves. You know, we've all had moments where we've felt really intuitive, and I believe we've all got that gift, and it's really important to expand it. You know, all the best CEOs will always say they go on gut, right? Because our instincts are everything. They're our sat-nav through life. You see, our brain is programmed just to respond to the past, so all it's doing is taking past data and projecting it into our future. But unless we want to keep living the life of our past, if we want to expand and grow and want to go on to more and better things, then it's really about trusting our sat-nav, which is our intuition, and learning how to trust it and tune into it and be more aware of it. So we pick it up at the early signs when we're getting those instinctive nudges, those kind of inklings, those ideas, and going with them. So therefore we don't need a great big kind of traumatic event to kind of like jar us into waking up to a situation. You know, we get much more sensitive about what feels good and what feels bad, and you know, we can trust what feels good and what feels bad. If something feels off, it's off, you know, unless we're in resistance. Generally it's about like, if we want to live a more fulfilling life and a life that lights us up, then we have to go with things that feel good and trust them and not judge them and not push them away because we think they're wrong. We have to learn how to trust our desires if we want to live a life that is enabling those desires and work in a way that enables that. So it really is about that, and I really wanted to share it because it's come up all day today, and it's really difficult when you know, say something's happening at work, or maybe something goes wrong with a client, or you know, your offer doesn't sell, or whatever it is. It's so easy to go into judgment and make ourselves wrong and think that we got it wrong, right? But what actually happened, hi my love, we don't want to be over the head. Exactly. I know people who have crashed cars, who, you know, it doesn't have to happen, but like the universe speaks and like it wants to put you on path, and if you don't listen, you will get woken up, you will get put on track, and that's what's beautiful about it, isn't it? But like the better we get at listening to our sat-nav, our intuition, our instincts, the easier we can expand and grow and stay on track and feel good about life, right? Because that's our sat-nav. Our intuition is our sat-nav. Our brains are programmed on the past. They're just there to keep us safe. They're the mechanism that is there for survival. Oh, okay, another dog wall. And to tell us, you know, like if you touch the cooker, it's hot, so don't touch it again. That's what they're there for. Our brains are not designed to guide us into expansion and like more possibilities and, you know, what will feel most fulfilling in life. That's our intuition, that's our instincts, that's our sat-nav. And that's what we've got to get better at listening to avoid, you know, to be able to do things more gracefully, to be able to live more easily, because we have everything we need inside of us. It's just about learning how to tune in. And how like to not negotiate with it so much, not try and question it so much, but actually explore it more. So I've got this feeling that I'd like to do this, or this feels good to me. Okay, so let me follow that thread. Let me get curious about it rather than shut it down. So many of us are used to shutting down our senses, our intuition, our guidance system, right? Which is why then we wonder why we're never getting ahead, or we're always like repeating the same patterns, or nothing seems to be working out. It's because we're not tuning in and we're repeating past patterns because we're not listening to that guidance system that's inside all of us. So it is about just like taking that time and really centering and grounding into that and being more sensitive, because so often when things happen, often people will say, well, I had a feeling about that, right? But how often do you listen to those feelings? How often do you trust, like, that kind of gut instinct that's always right, because your kind of intuition is designed to give you what would give you the most fulfillment in life. It's designed to keep you on track. Your intuition knows your desires, it knows what fulfills you, and it's trying to like take you into that way. And most of the time we're judging it, or we're making ourselves wrong, especially if we see what we view as a negative situation. We're much more likely to say, oh, I was wrong, I shouldn't have done that because I got into this or this happened. But often that negative situation is exactly what we needed, right? To change things, to maybe like raise our standards or start committing to new ways. Milo. So I just want to encourage us, Milo, to trust it, because really it's the way, and it's how peak performers work. You know, athletes, they have to be really sensitive to their instincts. When they're like in that kind of moment where they have to decide how to play a game, it's instinct. When a CEO has to make a decision, it's instinct. Milo. So all the kind of greatest, I work with a lot of like top performers and leaders, and you know, that's how they work. They trust instinct beyond anything else. And so, you know, I'm just really encouraging us to trust it, and to really not see if you've experienced, you know, if you feel like, oh, you know, if there's been negative situations that have occurred, to really understand the higher purpose of them, to really view it from that point of view, to really ask, how is that serving me, right? What have I not been listening to? What do I need to kind of tune into more? What have I been denying within myself that needs to be heard, right? Because that's what it's about. It's never there to test us. I don't believe that the universe gives us lessons. I think it just puts us on path. You're not here to be taught a lesson. You're here to live your most fulfilling life, and you're here to find the way through that, through these kind of circumstances that lead us into the way. So it's always like, you know, you've got to say thank you to those situations, even if they're challenging, because they're showing you something else. And how we approach those situations is everything. How we navigate through them and how quickly we get the information that we were meant to get from them is how quickly we get to let them go and move forward and expand and grow into like bigger and better things. So that's what I want to share. I hope it's helpful. Really comes up a lot with people, and I know for my life, you know, there's so many times where I've been very circumstantial, like in the past, where I'd judge a situation and think that I did something wrong, rather than seeing what it was really about. And if you don't see what it's really about, you'll have to go through it again until you get that insight. So it's really worth being sensitive to this and asking those bigger questions and digging deeper into, well, what does it really mean? You know, it's always when we need to be woken up. It's always when we've been ignoring something that we've been feeling inside. It's always when we're going against our natural guidance system. And the wonderful thing about our universe is it's designed to put us back on track, which is why we get like those roadblocks, or what seem like roadblocks. So have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon.